You enjoying Las Vegas?
I thought we were at the end. I enjoyed what got in last night. Went to bed about 11:10 Eastern time. That's late for me. Woke up about 4 a.m. Had to try to figure out what to do with myself for 5 hours. We're going back tonight right after this.
You want us to jump in?
Yeah, let me get rid of this. Jeff says I could chew gum up here, but I don't think so. Okay, speak up so I can hear you, okay?
I wanted to start with Mikhail Kamar. Just working on a story about him. Everybody knows his background, but I'm curious about present time. What is it that makes him so impactful? Why is he a guy who game in, game out, tackles for loss, all that stuff? Why is he so impactful?
When we evaluated him in high school, I can remember bringing his tape into the staff room at least 4 different times for everybody to watch it. You know, you're making the decision.
Right.
And he was like a blur. He really was. He had great initial quickness, and getting to the passer fast. So, you know, he came to us as a freshman. That was that COVID year, the spring. Right. We didn't play in the fall. We played in the spring. And he started as a true freshman with 2 injured shoulders that both needed surgery at the end of the year. They had to be done at different times. That's how and he missed the entire fall season. And you know, he had a little bit of an injury bugaboo at times that would keep him off the field early in his career. And then our last year at JMU, the year before I came here, he played the entire season, no injuries, was just fantastic. Came here in the spring, lit it up. And really, for the first 80% of the fall was just, you know, lights out. So he's a great technician. He's an extremely smart guy. He's got really good explosive power, great initial quickness. He can run too now. The guy's an athlete. He's an athlete. And, you know, he's got good football instincts.
Drew Evans, with his injury, is it realistic to have him back week 1? What's the timeline kind of for him?
Yeah, he's full go. He's cleared. You know, we'll manage him somewhat early in camp, but I expect him, you know, to be out there.
And an extension of that with Benson, do you still envision him just at tackle, or is he going to be in the mix at guard at all for playing on the field?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we're keeping all options open. You want to put the best 5 guys on the field, so you've got a good competition over there on that, you know, with Zen and Benson and, you know, some of those guys. And Benson's played both, but he's played more right tackle with Bob than anything. So we'll let it play out in camp.
On Mikhail, where is kind of his next step as a player?
You know, at times he struggled when he had to slide inside the offensive tackle, you know, and holding up, anchoring down in the run game. Now, we try to keep him out of that situation as much as possible, too, because, you know, he's not 6'4", 290. So I think just consistency and performance. A lot of these college guys, you know, they flash, right? And then they get a little older and they flash more. And, you know, now this is it for him. And doing it day in, day out, play in, play out, game in, game out at a high level. Fast, physical, relentless, flying around.
Does the money that players are getting these days make it hard, a little harder in terms of, you know, keeping team camaraderie, harmony among the team, and how do you go about making sure money doesn't become an issue where guys kind of look at the guys' pockets?
Yeah. Well, you know, I think word gets around what everybody's making, but I haven't seen that really affect the team dynamic up to this point. And I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to be as good a player as possible. You know, we recruit a certain kind of guy. And, you know, then my job is, again, buying the team goals. So, you know, I think in the locker room, everybody got a pretty good idea at their position, what the other guy's making. But I haven't seen it affect the team dynamic.
So it's nothing you really, at this point, even worry about addressing how you deal with the team?
No, because I mean they know what the goals are. They all know why they're here, and they know what will be accepted, expected, tolerated, and not tolerated if they want to be on this team.
Curt, as the head coach, do you feel like you have to know what every player on the team is getting in terms of the revenue share and all that?
I decide that. I decide what. I'm the GM and the head coach.
Why did you keep it that way instead of maybe splitting it up?
Because I'm a control freak. No, I'm organized. I'm good with numbers, and look, this is my name's on this, right? I spent a lot of years getting to this point, and I'm the best one to do it. So, and I don't need to be in every single offensive staff meeting in the spring, you know, and I can pick my moments, you know what I mean? So I've got time to do it, or I'll make time to do it.
Curt, you may have been asked this, but what playoff format do you prefer?
Oh, you know, in the Big Ten, we prefer the 4-4 AQ, and you know, I think objective football people will tell you the Big Ten and the SEC are the two best conferences in football. And when you look at the Big Ten last year, the fourth place team at the end of the regular season was Ohio State, and they won the national championship. So if that's not an argument for 4 AQs, I don't know what is.
You, I'm sure, heard the schedule criticism at the end of the season last year. How did you internalize it? How did you face it? What did your players talk to you about?
I mean, you hear that noise and that clutter. Like the noise got real loud going into the Ohio State game. We went from being the darling story of college football, right, to being like the enemy, the hunted. Like, you know, you had these two fronts, the biggest college reporting venue in the world and a big conference down south. You were getting it from both sides. Like, they better play good or they're out, you know. And but then a couple SEC teams lost that night. But I felt really, I knew after Purdue, like, we were in. It was just a matter of who. And, you know, I mean, we played who we played. We had the number one victory margin in college football, with number 2 in points scored, number 2 in total defense, number 3 in turnover ratio. So we did it in dominant fashion. It is what it is. It's over. Really, the focus is in on this team and developing this team in fall camp.
Along those lines, if you play 3 non-power opponents in non-conference schedule going forward, you open yourself up probably to the same criticism. How do you integrate it?
Well, that, you know, it's kind of like the SEC scheduling philosophy right now, to be honest with you. They got 12 of 16 teams playing G5 and FCS. So those 12 teams play 36 games, and 29 are G5 opponents and 7 are FCS opponents. That's 75% of the conference. That's what they're doing. And they're playing 1 less league game. But, you know, Scott, the leadership, myself, you know, we'll keep a close eye on what's going on, the way the winds are blowing. You know, there's a lot of moving parts right now. And, you know, we can be flexible and we can adjust. I mean, here's where I'm at, and this is where Tony's at, and the coaches in general in the Big Ten. You know, let's play 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5 championship weekend. Play it in, earn it on the field, right? 4-4. Tony's for playing the Big Ten and SEC every year, 1 game. Every Big Ten team, every SEC team. Okay? So let's get uniformity in the schedule as we get moving forward, all right? And take a lot of the decision making out of the committee's hands. And but, you know, we'll see where we are, because there are a lot of issues still in a lot of different areas.
Curt, I know you expect that schedule criticism from the SEC. Were you surprised to hear I think Barry Odom was also last week kind of taking a shot at the non-conference schedule?
Barry Odom. I like Barry Odom. Taking a shot at our schedule? No, did I think about it? Not much, but that would be an overstatement.
An overstatement to say you didn't think about it too much?
Yeah, that I didn't think much of it. But that would be an overstatement. Not that I didn't think much of it, like he shouldn't have done that. I saw it. It was a flicker in my brain, and it was over.
Considering the success you had, you beat both national title contenders last year, beat Nebraska, and they beat the Big 12 quad champion. And yet, at the end of the year, there was still a lot of discussion you didn't deserve to be in the playoff. Did you feel like that there needed to be more voices, maybe from the Big Ten, backing your program?
No, I thought we got good support from the Big Ten and the committee. The voices were from down south, you know. But to me, it's all in the past. I think it's pretty unanimous. We deserved to be there. We were there. We could have played better once we got there.
Do you think there's any difference between a Big Ten quarterback compared to, say, a quarterback in another conference, whether it's because of weather going into the later part of the schedule? Coach Rule said that you got to have quarterbacks with bigger hands because they can spin in the cold weather. Do you think there's any differences that you can notice from Big Ten quarterbacks?
Yeah, I really haven't thought about that, to be honest with you. I mean, like the first part of your question, difference between Big Ten and other conference, no, I think that'd be too big a generalization. I guess what you're getting at is cold weather quarterbacks. And there definitely are some quarterbacks more affected by cold weather or rain than others. And hand size usually does play into that.
Look at Kamar. What is it about him? He seems to have an incredible motor. They can really get after people. They have a job at times.
Yeah, I got that question when this started. That's all right. Yeah, he's a really good athlete. He's an excellent technician. He's got great initial quickness. He's got explosive power and speed. He is really smart and intuitive. So you add those things together, combined with being a fourth or fifth year player, that you have Kamar, who can come off the edge and pressure quarterback and is a real problem for an offensive tackle in a one-on-one situation.
On Aiden, he had mentioned
when you look at some of these guys that you have on your team that maybe didn't have recruiting accolades and some others did, what do you search for? What do you find to try and unlock in them to get them to believe that they can play at a level that maybe they don't realize themselves?
Well, I mean, you're always taking the best prospect available to you. Now, there's a certain kind of guy that I just won't take. And, guys got to love ball and have some ankle, knee, hip flexibility, and certain level of athleticism, right? And then, habits are important. How bad's he want it? Who was his mentor growing up? 2 parents, 1 parent, any, what kind of guy is he going to be when you get him? Now, you got a role in helping him develop, but he's got to be coachable too, right? So, I think we've done a good job of filling the organization with the right kind of people, coaches and players. And then this business is all about recruiting, development, and retention. And development is weight room, your speed program, flexibility program, nutrition, how you practice, the things you preach and put in their head, your style of play. And we've done a good job of developing players, through the years.
on Aiden, he had mentioned it was around this time last year where, he talked more, was a little bit louder. At what point did you kind of tell with him that he had these captain-like traits in him off the field?
I don't know if I've ever told him that. And we've never chosen captains, ever.
I was going to say tell, though, like on those captain-like traits.
Yeah.
He had the intangibles.
No, I knew he had that stuff when the way Haynes talked about him near the end of our JMU time, or maybe in the middle of that season or beginning of that season, because we had two pretty good linebackers before he stepped in. And he stepped in for Torres Jones, who got hurt against Virginia. We beat Virginia. We lost both our linebackers within 5 plays. And he made a comment that he'd be better than Torres Jones. I was like, but you know what? I mean, and since then, he's been the quarterback of the defense.
Would you say it's fair to say that Aiden is almost like an on-field version of Brian Haynes?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I think he's really prepared. He understands all the checks and adjustments, right? And he's prepared. He understands what the offenses are trying to do for the most part out of various sets, and where he needs to be, how he's got to fit certain runs. He's probably got a little more athleticism than Haynes had.
Coach, what did you learn about your team when you went to Ohio State to move forward and play better maybe in that type of game?
Yeah, we had to get better. I mean, we got whipped up front. We had some problems in that one end zone with the noise, and so we had some miscommunication on pass pro. That's really where it all began. And but if you're going to go on the road and beat the big boys on the road, you got to be able to win the battle up front on offense and defense on the lines. So I think we'll be improved on the offensive line this year.
Kamar and Fisher say they've watched the Notre Dame game countless times this offseason, dialing down in the smallest of details and trying to find motivation and learn from it. When you've rewatched it, what were your takeaways? Obviously, studied tons of film. You looked at that game specifically.
I mean, they broke the 98-yard run, and really after that it was more, the quarterback in the pocket, our inability to tackle him, or his ability to just extend plays a little bit and find the check down and keep drives alive and stuff like that. And then, offensively, just not good. We did run the ball a little bit early in the game, made a catch or two, and made a few catches in the second quarter, and probably should have gone to 2-minute drills earlier in the game in the fourth quarter. Hindsight's 2020. Punter was awful, and they played well. We didn't play well, and they beat us. And now you got to be careful. I learned early in my head coaching career, we lost a really tough game my first year as a head coach to Slippery Rock. You ever hear of Slippery Rock? And I just couldn't let it go. And it hurt us the next couple of weeks too. You can't let this one hurt you. Heading into it's over, you file the lessons away, you learn and you grow from it.
Curt, when you look at a receiver like Jeremiah Smith, you got a chance to go up against him last year. How do you cover a talent like that or any star?
Well, you cover him as, first of all, if you're in man coverage, I guess is what you're asking me, or press. Is cover him as well as you can. Hope the ball is, not placed very well. He's a freak. He's a great player. He's the greatest at that position I've seen at that age, and he's a weapon.
Did you coach Julio?
I coach Julio, yes.
Yeah.
Julio was also a great player.
Julio Jones at Alabama.
At Alabama, yes, I coached him.
Coach, I wonder.
Very similar. This guy's a little looser, more flexible, I think. Maybe a hair faster.
Coach, I want to get your thoughts. Before you came, Indiana never had even an assistant at $1 million. Now you do. The support from an institutional level has improved. What has that done to give you an opportunity for your players and your team to have an opportunity for sustained success?
It's the best conference in football. We want to be the best. And, to stay on that trajectory, these are the kind of things you got to do. You got to be able to keep key people. And I really give Scott and President Witten a lot of credit for providing the resources and funds to keep coordinators away from the blue bloods and strength and conditioning coaches.
Right.
And because those are key people for me that have been with me a long time. They were hard to replace.
Right.
And when you do replace them, there's a blip. And so it's important.
Coach, you made that statement at the podium about the biggest alumni except Texas. Is that how?
Yeah, number 2 alumni base next to Texas. I believe Penn State's 3.
So
now that includes the satellite campuses in the state of Indiana.
But so you energized them by just having those 11 wins. It was there. Potential was always there. Who's never been energized?
Oh yeah, they were over the top. A lot of NIL potential there, Scott. A lot of people. Ipte, Frank Howard, I pay 10 a year.
They had a lot more than 10 then.
yeah, it would.
I also want to get your thoughts just on, last year when you guys started winning, started getting sellouts, the towels, Fox Big Noon kickoff, game day, all that. What do you feel the opportunity is for that atmosphere to be all season long in Bloomington?
That's what you want. That's what you want. That's what I expect. You know, we expect to prepare this team to be the best and have that kind of atmosphere every game.
How much recruiting has changed in the last couple of years? Is there, maybe a catch-all system-wide rule that you would like to see implemented that would help things out for you and your staff and keep you recruiting? Is it the calendar, assistant coaches on the trail? Like, what would make recruiting go smoothly for you guys?
Well, I mean, recruiting's changed a lot, and it's changed a lot because you can pay players. And so there's a lot of loose ends yet need to be tied up, and I'm putting my confidence in the commissioners and the ADs, to get that done.
Is it more difficult to recruit than it was maybe 10 years ago with how things have changed in that regard?
I mean, if you got the money, it's not. But if you got $1 and the other guy's got $15, it is.
How would you? Wisconsin's suing Miami over player tampering. I'm not actually specific about that situation, but are you in favor of more potential punishment or ability to kind of crack down on player tampering?
Oh yeah, player tampering, absolutely. And that, I think that's a contract issue where a guy had signed a contract. So we're all hoping that once we sign these contracts that they can hold water. And tampering. There's a big difference between inadvertent phone call and calling a guy multiple times in the spring and offering him $800,000. That's tampering. Or $1.5 million, which I had happen this spring.
Coach, as your director of athletics, has he told you the percentage that might be directed towards the football team?
Well, I know what our number is, but I can't.
No, I would, Coach. I don't want to get you.
I think the percentage in general in the league, is mid 60s, low 70s in general, roughly.
When you mentioned the 1.5 million figure, calling it out to a degree, why not get into more specifics and say this program, this coach, this is what happened? If we want it cleaned up, why not hold them accountable by name, publicly say exactly who it was and who?
Yeah, well, you can go down that road, and but right now, I've been totally led to believe that there's a new sheriff in town that's going to enforce his stuff post July 1, and I got to trust the people that I believe in.
With the CSC, Coach Day was talking about that there's been some deals for Ohio State players that were either denied or that they took too long to get back, and therefore players missed out on some money. Has Indiana had any players denied deals, or did the CSC just took too long?
I can't answer you that question. I mean, I can tell you what every guy on my team makes, but I don't get a daily update on their NIL deals. Because we've been kind of working from the premise early on that this NIL would go and the rev share would be sort of the equalizer, and that would be your biggest pot of gold. Now as things change, we'll adjust.
How would you characterize Mendoza's athleticism and mobility, and how much can that maybe help your offense?
Yeah, really mobile, can extend plays, can make all the throws, and so different than Curtis in that regard. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You had incredible spacing, I thought, among your pass routes last year, and that seemed to really open things up to just schematic as much as it is athletic ability. In what ways can he help or even enhance that even more with what Fernando is able to do with what you're able to do schematically?
Well, I think you always build around the quarterback and his strengths and your personnel. And so I thought Curtis did a great job of finding the open guy and going through the progression, throwing a very catchable ball. And, Fernando's got a stronger arm, and, he's more mobile. So, we'll see how it plays out on the field.
Coach, at linebacker, you obviously lost Jalen Walker. How confident are you in whether it's Elijah Hardy or Isaiah Jones to kind of fill that role alongside Hayden?
Yeah, well, I think Ro Hardy is a top-line guy. And, he finished the season, the last half of the season, he was the next linebacker in 12 personnel, and a lot of confidence in Jones also.
With how quick the recruitments are in the transfer portal era, with guys, committing within 48 hours sometimes or less of being in the portal, how do you sort of just seek out the right transfer quarterback
quarterbacks, given the importance of that position and everything that goes on between the years of that position in such a short amount of time?
Well, not every guy commits that quickly. Mendoza didn't. So, you have time to evaluate him. And usually when a guy jumps in the portal and chooses a school, then something's happening, right? So.
There's a lot of talk last week at SEC Media Days, a lot of headlines made, certainly helped the cause, about the possibility of Baker returning as one of his former. You have thoughts on the possibility of Nick ever returning to the sideline?
I'd be surprised by that.
Why?
I think he made his decision, on how he was going to proceed. But I guess anything's possible. But I don't see that happening.
What's it like now recruiting with Indiana versus a year ago? Not so much with the portal, but really like high school recruiting. What do the players think?
Well, I think it certainly has opened more doors. There's no doubt about it. But look, we got to keep progressing, getting better. Our infrastructure needs to improve, and ultimately, you got to be able to win battles occasionally against, Oregon and Tennessee and Florida and those people. You know what I'm saying? We did win a few of those, but we've done some nice enhancements here in the off season. We've rebranded the indoor. New turf on the stadium, rebranded the coaches' offices, and we'll do more moving forward. Recruiting, development, and retention. The number one thing I was most pleased about postseason, we didn't lose a single player that we wanted to keep. We retained all of them, 100%.
What have you noticed as the biggest or most important difference between this year's team and last year's team?
It's too early to answer that question.
You mentioned you're talking about improvements. Anything else coming up as far as stadium practice?
No, because now the focus is on the season, and then Scott and I will talk as we.
No, I meant like next year.
Right. No, we
down the road.
Yeah, he's got a bucket list, and then he walks in and says, "What would you, down the road, that stadium's got to look a lot different than it looks right now." And before I retire, that press box has to come down. Anything else?
Coach, you brought up the satellite campuses. How do you engage with the people who don't go to the games?
They can still come to the games, but that's not my job to get them there other than to be successful.
And then my other question for you is the addition of 4 West Coast teams. Has West Coast travel been an impact for your program?
Didn't affect us against UCLA. I sure would like to play that West Coast team at home around 12 o'clock.
Have you noticed any the prevalence of sports gambling now, coast to coast? Is that affecting all the pressure that players face, or the responses and threats and criticisms that they're facing now?
I'm not sure that I'm the person to ask that question to, but I think it's got to be on your radar that it's a possibility. And it's happened in the past. Guys have gone to jail. And we can't be naive and have our head in the sand.
Are you hearing anything from your players just in terms of how often they hear from fans who might have financial interest in games who are now coming after them and criticizing?
Is Mari Knighton cleared for fall? I know he was injured too. I think it was a cast during the spring game. And how's that battle taking shape next to Pons at Florida?
Yeah, Knighton will be back ready to go. And Sharp and Gandy and Jalen Bell are the primary field corner candidates, with Sharp being right now the projected starter. Knighton working in the boundary a little bit more. But, we evaluate him daily and, do what gives us best chance.
When you look at the fundamentals you guys played with on defense, but sometimes it's hard for a new program. You brought guys with you and moved guys in, but to play as fundamentally sound as it did in year one, how were you able to make that happen? Because sometimes retraining guys to do it the right way takes sometimes years to do it.
Well, I think Fisher, Carpenter, Jalen Walker, Kamara, Pons. played a big role in that. Yep, and then the other guys assimilated. It wasn't always perfect, but there were a lot of good moments.
Coach, how do you go from building and establishing the culture that you did last year to kind of improving on that next year and as the years go along?
I mean, you got your process, your plan. You put the right people in the organization, create an environment where they can thrive, and day-to-day plan on how they can develop their fullest potential in other areas that determine program success. Set high standards and never lower your standards. And as you get better, you ought to recruit better, so you ought to improve more.
Coach, your players today were talking about making sure they get extra reps after practice. Some of the younger guys are starting to put them. How does it make you feel as a coach knowing that most of your team is wanting to get these extra reps even in their own spare time?
Yeah, that's great to hear. But more is not always more. Rest and recovery is important too. We got one guy out for about 10 days because he was doing some extra stuff and it was too much. So, but it's great to hear that, and it tells you they want to be as good as they can be.
Coach, 2 more questions. Do you think there's any internal validation about trying to prove last year wasn't a fluke?
I mean, this is a new year, a new team, right? And, we're trying to build a program that year in, year out competes for Big Ten championships and college football playoff, ultimately a national championship. That's our vision.
How much scouting have you done of the other the teams in the Big Ten through the course of the spring and summer, just on the side?
The teams that we're going to play,
yeah.
A lot. And the teams that are not in the Big Ten.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.